In the last lesson, we discussed how to multiply one polynomial expression with another polynomial expression. In today's lesson, we will see how to divide a polynomial expression with another polynomial expression. Dividing polynomials. Well, when dividing a monomial by a monomial, we use the quotient rule for exponents. I hope you remember how the quotient rule is used to divide one term by another term. Now, let's look at the quotient rule to begin with. A to the power of m divided by a to the power of n equal to a to the power of m minus n. Now, remember we said if m is greater than n, that is, the numerator power is greater than the denominator power, then the answer will stay on the numerator as a to the power m minus n. And that's when m is greater than n. Tell me, what happens if the denominator power is greater than the numerator power? Well, in such a case, the answer will stay on the denominator. Look at this, a to the power of m divided by a to the power of n equal to 1 over a to the power of n minus m if the denominator power n is greater than the numerator power m. Alright, give you an example. X to the power 7 divided by x to the power 4. Now, which of the powers is greater here? The numerator power is greater. Therefore, the answer will stay on the numerator. That will be x to the power of 7 minus 4. That is x to the power of 3. Remember, x to the power of 3 is a numerator number. What is its denominator? Denominator is 1. We don't generally write it. Okay, on the other hand, if I have x to the power 4 divided by x to the power 7, what will be the result there? The denominator power is greater than the numerator power. Therefore, the answer will stay on the denominator. What will be my numerator? It will be 1. 1 over x to the power of the denominator power 7 minus the numerator power, and that is 1 over x cubed. Now, why do we read the quotient rule like this? Just to make sure that the exponent is always positive. Okay, so if you can practice this, simplifying or dividing a polynomial expression will become easier. Okay, now when dividing a polynomial by a monomial, in other words, if I have a polynomial of many terms and I want to divide it by a monomial, a polynomial of just one term, then what do? Well, we divide each term on the numerator is divided by the monomial on the denominator. When a polynomial is divided by a monomial, then each term of the polynomial is divided by the monomial. Alright, let me show you an example. Divide 9x plus 17 all over 3. Now the numerator is a binomial. The denominator is a monomial. So here we are dividing a binomial by a monomial. Now what is it that we're supposed to be doing? We divide each term of the polynomial by the monomial. In other words, divide 9x by 3 and then followed by plus, then 7 is divided by 3. We divide each term on the numerator by the denominator, that is 3. Therefore, 9x plus 17 all over 3 is the same as 9x divided by 3 plus 17 divided by 3. You notice that the denominators are both the same here, which is the same as the common denominator, and the numerator can be obtained by simply adding these two numerator terms. You see, you can go back to there. So once again, when a polynomial is divided by a monomial, then each term of the polynomial is divided by the monomial. 9x plus 17 all over 3 equal to 9x divided by 3 plus 17 divided by 3. Okay, can you simplify any of these terms? You see, in the first term, this is the first term, 3 on the denominator will go 3 times in 9, right? Alright, the 3 here will go in 9 3 times. So what is this term now? 3x on the numerator and 1 on the denominator, which will simply be 3x. Can you simplify this? 17 divided by 3. No. So the answer will be 3x plus 17 over 3. You've got to leave the answer like that. So dividing this binomial by this monomial gave us a binomial. I hope you understood the method. Let's practice with more examples. Divide 12x squared minus 8x minus 20 all over 4. Now what is my numerator? Numerator is a trinomial. Denominator is a monomial. Okay, what's the method that we discussed? What are we supposed to do now? We take each term on the numerator and divide it by 4. And remember to keep the sign. So what will be my next step? My next step will be this. 12x squared divided by 4 minus 8x divided by 4 minus 20 divided by 4. That is my next step. Divide each term on the numerator by the denominator, that is 4. So that will be 12x squared divided by 4. And look what sign is used afterwards. This sign. Minus 8x divided by 4 minus 20 divided by 4. Each term on the numerator is divided by that monomial, that is 4. And remember to use the proper signs. And now I can simplify how in the first term 4 goes in 12 how many times? 3 times. So what is my first term here? The numerator is 3x squared. The denominator is 1. In other words, the first term is simply 3x squared. Alright, let's go to the second term. 4 goes in 8 2 times. And so what is the second term? The second term is negative. So that will be minus 2x on the numerator and 1 on the denominator. That will be minus 2x. That is the second term. And the last term, 4 goes in 20 how many times? 5 times. And so the result is 3x squared minus 2x minus 5 is the answer. Very simple, isn't it? Okay, let's practice with another one. Divide 18y to the power of 5 plus 12y squared all over 6y to the power of 4. The numerator is a binomial. The denominator is a monomial. What do? divide each term on the numerator with the denominator, that is 6y to the power of 4. Alright? When you do that, you have 18y to the power of 5 divided by 6y to the power of 4 plus 12y squared divided by 6y to the power of 4. We divided each term on the numerator by that denominator. Alright, now watch me how I simplify each term. First you look at the numbers. There is an 18 on the numerator, a 6 on the denominator. 6 will go how many times? In order to make it easier, let's factor 18 and 12 on the numerator. That will make it easy. Alright, let's factor 18 and 12 on the numerator. 18 is factored as 6 times 3. And now, I also did one more thing. What are the two things I did? I factored 18 and 12, these numbers, and also I used the quotient rule. Now watch here. For the variables y, the numerator is y to the power of 5, the denominator is y to the power of 4. Now what is y to the power of 5 divided by y to the power of 4? The numerator power is greater. Therefore, that simplification, the result will stay on the numerator. Look here. That will be y to the power of 5 minus 4. So what are the two things I did here? I factored this 18 as 6 times 3. Why did I factor it as 6 times 3? Because I have a 6 on the denominator. And y to the power of 5 divided by y to the power of 4 is y to the power of 5 minus 4. And it stays on the numerator because the numerator power is greater. Let's now go to the second term. 12 is factored as 6 times 2. Why did I factor it as 6 times 2 and not as 4 times 3? Because I have a 6 on the denominator. And look at how I used the quotient rule. Y to the power of 2 on the numerator, y to the power of 4 on the denominator. The denominator power is greater. That means the answer will stay on the denominator. That will be y to the power of 4 minus 2. I hope you understand that. Now, once you did this, you can now, alright, this is y to the power of 5 divided by y to the power of 4 is y to the power of 5 minus 4. It stays on the numerator because the numerator power is greater. Similarly, y to the power of 2 divided by y to the power of 4, the answer stays on the denominator as y to the power of 4 minus 2. Let's now simplify this. Alright? Okay. 6 goes with the 6 on the numerator. What is this term now? What is the first term of our result? Will be 3y to the power of 1, or that will be 3y, plus the 6 on the denominator goes with the 6 on the numerator. What is my second term? For my second term, the numerator is 2 and the denominator is y to the power of 4 minus 2. That is y to the power of 2. So that will be 3y divided by 1 plus 2 divided by y squared. We don't write the 1 on the denominator. The answer is 3y plus 2 over y squared. Okay, practice this one more time. Make sure you can do problems like this. Okay, let's go and do another example. Divide 15x cubed y minus 25xy cubed all over 5xy. The numerator is a binomial, the denominator is a monomial. What is our method? Divide each term of the numerator by the monomial on the denominator. So what will that be now? That will be 15x cubed y divided by 5xy. Alright, the first term on the numerator divided by the denominator, followed by what sign? The sign on the numerator after the first term, minus 25xy cubed divided by 5xy. There you are. So divide each term on the numerator by 5xy. What is the next step? Next step, I'm going to factor these numbers. 15. Tell me, how will you factor this 15, knowing there is a 5 on the denominator? 15 I will factor as 5 times 3. And this 25 I will factor as 5 times 5. And then apply the quotient rule. I want you to watch here. X cubed on the numerator, x on the denominator. What will that be? What will be x cubed divided by x? The numerator power is greater. That means the answer will stay on the numerator. That will be x to the power of 3 minus 1. The power here is 1. And y will actually cancel. See that? And coming on to here, second term. X will cancel with x. Y cubed on the numerator, y on the denominator. The numerator power is greater. Therefore, it will stay on the numerator as y to the power of 3 minus 1. Okay. So, one more time, I factored 15 as 5 times 3. X to the power of 3 divided by x. See that? That is factored as x to the power of 3 minus 1. And look at the way I dealt with y and y. I could have simply cancelled it. But I can also use the quotient rule. The power of y is 1 on the numerator and 1 on the denominator. It doesn't matter where it is going to stay. Y to the power of 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. And y to the power of 0 is 1. And does it matter where you write it, on the numerator or on the denominator? No. Okay, in the same way, the second term, the 25, is factored as 5 times 5. And x on the numerator, x on the denominator. Using the quotient rule, it becomes x to the power of 1 minus 1. And y to the power of 3 on the numerator divided by y on the denominator is y to the power of 3 minus 2 on the numerator. That means on the denominator you simply have a 5. Let's now simplify. The 5 on the denominator goes with 5 on the numerator. What is my first term in here? There's a 3 here. X to the power of 3 minus 1 is 2. That will be 3x squared. What is this? Y to the power of 1 minus 1 is y to the power of 0, which is 1. You see, we could have simply cancelled this y with that y. Probably that is simpler, is that right? Yes. But it gives you the same result. Alright, let's go to the second term. 5 on the denominator goes with the 5 on the numerator. X to the power of 1 minus 1 is x to the power of 0, which is 1. So this will be 1. y to the power of 3 minus 2 will be y to the power 1. So what is my second term? The second term is 5 times 1 times y. So that will be 3x squared y to the power of 0 minus 5x to the power of 0 y to the power of 1, not y to the power of 2. Oh. Now, my mistake is here. This will be y to the power of 3 minus 1. I don't know why I wrote 2 there. Did you understand why it should not be 2? The power of y there is 1. So y to the power of 3 divided by y is y to the power of 3 minus 1, not 2. Okay. And so that gives me, that will be a 1. And that makes the last term correct. Y to the power of 3 minus 1 is y to the power of 2. And that gives us the answer as 3x squared minus 5y squared. I hope you understood in spite of the simple error I made here. Okay, let's go and do another one. We have now a trinomial on the numerator and a monomial on the denominator. 4x to the power of 13 plus 12x to the power of 9 minus 7x to the power of 7 all over 4x to the power of 6. What's the method? We divide each term on the numerator by the denominator, that is 4x to the power of 6. Okay, so that gives me 4x cubed, 4x to the power of 13 divided by 4x cubed, that is the first term, followed by this sign, plus 12x to the power of 9 divided by 4x to the power of 6, that is the second term, followed by what sign? Minus 7x to the power of 7 over 4x to the power of 6, that is our third term. What do you do next? What that will be, we can now apply the quotient rule here. Is that right? Quotient rule. What is the quotient rule here? 4x to the power of 13 on the numerator, x to the power of 13 on the numerator, x to the power of 6 on the denominator becomes what? The numerator power is greater. So the answer stays on the numerator as x to the power of 13 minus 6. And now, come to the second term. I factored 12 as 4 times 3. Why did I do that? Because I have a 4 on the denominator. And now use the quotient rule. X to the power of 9 on the numerator, x to the power of 6 on the denominator. Where will the answer be? The numerator power is greater. So, it is going to stay on the numerator as x to the power 9 minus 6. Minus 7 cannot be factored. There's no point in factoring it anyway, because we got a 4 on the denominator. Alright, apply the quotient rule for x to the power of 7 on the numerator and x to the power of 6 on the denominator. Where will the answer stay? It will stay on the numerator. Why? Because the numerator power is greater. It is x to the power 7 minus 6. Alright? And now, in the first term, 4 on the denominator goes with 4 on the numerator. They cancel. In the second term, similarly, 4 on the denominator goes with 4 on the numerator. Now, what is my second term now? The second term is 3x to the power of 3. 9 minus 6 is 3. Minus, well, there is nothing to cancel here. X to the power of 7 minus 6 will be x. Okay, so tell me, what is the first term? The first term is x to the power of, what is 13 minus 6? Is 7. The first term is x to the power of 7 plus the second term is 3x to the power of 3 minus, look at the coefficient for the last term. The coefficient for the last term is 7 over 4 x. That's right. So that will be x to the power of 7 plus 3x cubed minus 7 over 4x is the answer. A very good problem, and I want you to practice that. Okay, I hope you understood the various steps I did here. Another one. Divide a squared b squared c minus 6ab c squared plus 5a cube b cube all over the trinomial divided by the monomial 2ab c squared. Okay, what is the method we use? We take each term on the numerator and divide it by the denominator and then simplify. Okay, that will be the first term of the trinomial is a squared b squared c divided by 2ab c squared, followed by the sign minus 6ab c squared divided by 2ab c squared, followed by this sign, that is plus 5a cube b to the power of 5 divided by 2ab c squared. Well, we need to simplify. Is that right? How? Look at the way I simplify it. Now on the numerator, a squared on the numerator, a on the denominator, it becomes a to the power of 2 minus 1. Because the numerator power is greater, it is going to stay on the numerator. Similarly, b squared on the numerator, b on the denominator, how will that be simplified? That will be b to the power of 2 minus 1 on the numerator. Okay, now come to c. C on the numerator and c squared on the denominator. The denominator power is greater. So the answer for that is going to stay on the denominator. Watch how I wrote it. It will be c on the denominator. The power will be this denominator power minus the numerator power. That is c to the power of 2 minus 1 on the denominator. Well, and this 2 will stay as it is. Well, do you understand where these a and b disappear? The a and b disappeared when we used the quotient rule on a squared divided by a. There you are. And b squared divided by b became this. I hope you understood that first term. Minus, I factored the 6 as 2 times 3. Why did I do that? Because I have a 2 on the denominator. And now, apply the quotient rule for a divided by a. A divided by a is a to the power of 1 minus 1. B divided by b is b to the power of 1 minus 1. And c squared divided by c squared is c to the power of 2 minus 2. You can actually cancel those, can't you? A will go with a, b will go with b, c squared will go with c squared. This means the same thing. Why? because a to the power of 1 minus 1 is a to the power of 0, that is 1. B to the power of 0 is 1. And c to the power of 0 is also 1. So all these will give you a 1. Okay, and the last term, there is nothing to factor here. Alright, look at a cube on the numerator, a on the denominator. What will that be? How will that be simplified? The numerator power is greater. So that will be a to the power of 3 minus 1. Now, b to the power of 5 on the numerator and b to the power of 1 on the denominator. That becomes b to the power of 5 minus 1. Okay, so we have now taken care of these ab on the denominator. That leaves the denominator with 2c squared. Alright, let's simplify this now. 2 and 2 will go. That's the only cancellation we will have. Now that's equal to a to the power of 2 minus 1 is a to the power of 1, that is a. B to the power of 2 minus 1 is b to the power of 1, that is b, over 2 times c to the power of 2 minus 1 is 2c. Alright? Minus, well, as I told you, a to the power of 0, b to the power of 0, c to the power of 0, they are all 1. And that means this will be simply a 1. And this is the same as cancelling a with a, b with b, c squared with c squared, leaving a 1. So what is my second term? After these 2's have cancelled, the second term is simply a negative 3. Plus, the last term, I have 5a squared, b to the power of 4 over 2c squared. That has been a very good problem, and I want you to practice that one more time. Okay, so far we were dividing a polynomial by a monomial. Now, that time, what do? Take each term on the numerator and divide it by the denominator, and then simplify, using the quotient rule mainly. Well, now we're going to see how we can divide a polynomial by a binomial. That means the denominator will have 2 terms. Now, this is going to be entirely different. I want you to pay special attention and learn this method. This is also the same as long division, just like we do in our division of numbers. Now, how do we divide numbers? Now, let's see how we do this division. Suppose I want to divide 643 by, alright, divide it by, what's the number? Give me a number that you want to divide it by. Well, let's divide it by 4. 643 divide by 4. We do it by the long division method. Now, how do we do that? We first of all take 6, is that right? And say how many 4's will go in 6? How many 4's will go in 6? It will be 1. And we will write that 1 on the top. So I'm going to do that. 4 goes in 6 ones. And now, what do we do after writing that 1? We will multiply this 1 with this 4. 1 times 4 is 4. And write it below that 6. Is that right? Alright. So that is 1 times 4 is 4. I write it below the 6. What is the next step? Next step is we subtract this 4 from 6. 6 minus 4 is what? 6 minus 4 is 2. Alright? I have a 6 minus 4 is 2, and I now bring down the 4. There you are. And now tell me, how many 4s will go in 24? We now repeat the same process. How many 4s will go in 24? There are 6 4s in 24. Alright? So we write 6 to the right of 1. And what is the next step? After writing the 6 to the right of 1, we multiply this 6 with the 4. 6 times 4 is 24. We write it below that 24. Alright? And now subtract. 24 minus 24 is 0. So there you got 0. Bring down the 3. Well, we got a 3 now here. How many 4s will go in that 3? Well, 4 cannot go in 3. So we write a 0 there. Alright? That is 0. And now, 0 times 4 is 0. Subtract, you get 3. And there are no more numbers left, and this is what we call the remainder. Now, what is our answer? Our answer is 160 and 3 over 4. So we write it like this. The answer is 160 and 3 over 4. Now this is how we divide numbers normally. You are familiar with it. Okay? Now we can follow the same method to divide a polynomial by a monomial. Alright? I want you to watch that method very carefully. Now, first time you watch, don't do any writing. Just listen to me and look at the method, and then you practice it on your own. Okay, let's see what happens. We will now divide a polynomial by a binomial. Alright, let's start with this. Divide x squared plus 2x minus 15 all over x plus 5. Now, look at the way we're going to start. We write this quantity just the way we wrote our number. X squared plus 2x minus 15. And put the line on top and the vertical line just like we did in the previous case. Right? And now, write x plus 5 to the left of that. Alright. X squared plus 2x minus 15 is called the dividend, and x plus 5 is the divisor. Okay, so this is the dividend and this is the divisor. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to look at the first term of the dividend to start with. X squared is the first term of the dividend, and x is the first term of the divisor. The first term of the dividend is x squared. I've colored that red. And the first term of the divisor is x. Always when you want to divide a polynomial by a binomial, we start with the first term of the dividend and the first term of the divisor. Alright, what do we do? Divide x squared by x. Just the same way we did with the number. Alright? What do you get if you divide x squared by x? X squared divided by x is x. Is that right? I'm sure you know that. X squared divided by x is the same as x times x divided by x, and 1x and the x will go, So you got x squared by x equal to x. Divide the first term of the dividend with the first term of the divisor. X squared divided by x is x. Now where do I write it? I write it at the top above this 2x. There I have that x. So write that x directly above 2x above that horizontal line. Now what do we do with this x? We will multiply this x with each term of this divisor. Now multiply x with each of the terms of the divisor and write the result below like terms. Now a term in x squared will be written below x squared. A term in x will be written below x. So one more time. Multiply this x with each of the terms of the divisor and write the result below the like terms. For example, alright, let's go over there. X multiplied by x. You see, how do you multiply this x with each of the terms here? First multiply this x with that x. X times x is x squared. Where will I write that x squared? I will write it below this x squared. There you are. Now, multiply x with positive 5. Very important to watch the sign. Multiply this x with positive 5. What do you get? I get 5x. Where do I write that 5x? Write that 5x below the 2x. So plus 5x. Once again, x multiplied by x is x squared. Write it below x squared. Now, x multiplied by plus 5 is plus 5x. Write it below 2x. Now, what is the next thing to do? Just like we did in the number, there's nothing, no difference. Subtract terms below from terms above. That means x squared minus x squared. Subtract the terms below from the terms above. X squared minus x squared is 0. So write 0 there. Then subtract 5x from 2x. What is 2x minus 5x? Remember, you are subtracting terms below from the terms above. 2x minus 5x. Isn't 2x minus 5x negative 3x? Alright, write that below the x terms, negative 3x. What is the next step? Next step is to bring down the negative 15. Bring down the negative 15. And now we repeat this process again. What process? This is the first term. Negative 3x is the first term. That is going to be divided by the first term of the divisor. Alright? Now, negative 3x is divided by x. What is negative 3x divided by x? I'm sure you have no problem doing that. Negative 3x divided by x. X on the denominator will go with x on the numerator. That will be a negative 3. So, negative 3x divided by x is negative 3, and write it to the right of this x. Okay, so that will be a minus 3 there. What do we do with this negative 3? Now, you multiply this negative 3 with each of the terms of the divisor. Multiply negative 3 with each term of the divisor and write the result where? Below like terms. Negative 3 multiplied by x will be negative 3x. Where do I write that negative 3x? below the negative 3x. And negative 3 multiplied by positive 5 is negative 15. Negative 3 times positive 5 is negative 15. And write that below the negative 15. What is the next step? Next step is subtract. Subtract what? Subtract the terms below from the terms above. Now, if you notice, the terms below here are exactly the same as the terms above. So if you subtract, what will happen? That will be negative 3x minus negative 3x. Look at the way I wrote it. Negative 3x minus negative 3x will become negative 3x. The double negatives will become positive. Negative 3x plus 3x equal to 0. You subtract the same quantity, you subtract the negative 3x from negative 3x, you get 0. You subtract 5 from 5, you get 0. You subtract negative 20x from negative 20x, you get 0. So, tell me now, what do you get if you subtract negative 15 from negative 15? Subtract negative 15 from negative 15. Negative 15 minus negative 15 is 0. So that means the remainder is 0. What is our result of this division? The result of this division is x minus 3. So the result of the division is x minus 3. I hope you understood that problem. Shall I take you quickly back one more time these steps? Where do we start? We start with the first term of the dividend and the first term of the divisor. Now, divide the first term of the dividend by the first term of the divisor. X squared divided by x is x. Write that x below, exactly above the x term and above that horizontal line. What do we do with that x? Multiply this x with each of the terms of the divisor. This x multiplied by that x is x squared. Write it below the x squared. X multiplied by positive 5 is positive 5x. Write it below the 2x. What is the next step? Subtract terms below from the terms above. X squared minus x squared is 0. 2x minus 5x is negative 3x. And now bring down the next term, negative 15. And we repeat the process. The first term of the dividend, negative 3x, is divided by x. Negative 3x divided by x is negative 3. Write it to the right of x. And now multiply this negative 3 with each of the terms of the divisor. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Write it below negative 3x. Negative 3 times positive 5 is negative 15. Write it below negative 15. What is the next step? Subtract terms below from terms above. Subtracting negative 3x from negative 3x gives you 0. Practice that step. Negative 3x minus negative 3x is 0. Similarly, negative 15 minus negative 15. Subtracting a negative becomes 0. So the result is x minus 3. Now, I know it is a little difficult for you in the first attempt, but try it a couple more times and you will become an expert on it. Let's practice with another one. Okay? So if you divide this trinomial with this binomial, you get this exact result, x minus 3. The remainder is 0. Another one. Divide 12x squared plus 25x plus 7 all over 3x plus 1. Now, how do we start this process? First, we write the dividend like this, and then put a horizontal line on top and a vertical line to the left. That is the starting point. Okay. Then write the divisor here. What is our number? 3x plus 1. Starting point. 12x squared is the first term of the dividend, and 3x is the first term of the divisor. Divide 12x squared by 3x. Can you divide that for me? 12x squared divided by 3x. What will you get? 12x squared divided by 3x will be 12x squared divided by 3x. 3 goes in 12 4 times. And x squared divided by x is x. Is that right? So that will be 4x. 12x squared divided by 3x is 4x. Where do I write that 4x? Write it above the 25x. Alright, so that will be 4x there. Now, what's the next step? What do we do with that 4x? Multiply this 4x with this 3x. Now, that will be 4x multiplied by 3x will be 12x squared. You see, the clue here is that the first term should get the same term written below it. 4x multiplied by 3x is 12x squared. Write it below the 12x squared. Alright, that will be 12x squared. And now 4x multiplied by plus 1 is plus 4x. And write that below 25x. So one more time, 4x multiplied by 3x is 12x squared. Write it below 12x squared. And 4x multiplied by positive 1. Watch that sign. Is plus 4x. Write it below 25x. What is the next step? Subtract terms below. Subtract the green terms from the terms above. That is 12x squared minus 12x squared is 0. Write it below here. There you are. And now positive 25x, watch the sign again. Positive 25x minus 4x. Subtract terms below from terms above. 25x minus 4x is positive 21x. And write it below that 4x. There you are. What is the next step to do? Bring down the positive 7. Alright, bring down the positive 7 to the right of 21x. And now we repeat the process. Now the first term of the dividend is 21x. Divide that by the first term of the divisor. Well, I'm not going to write that down for you. You must tell me, what is 21x divided by 3x? 21x divided by 3x is 7. Where do I write that 7? To the right of 4x. There you write that 7. And what do we do with this positive 7? Multiply this positive 7 with each of the terms. 7 times 3x is 21x. Write that below the 21x. There you are. And 7 times 1 is positive 7. Write that below the positive 7. What's the next step? Subtract. Subtract terms below from terms above. 21x minus 21x is 0. And we write it here. Positive 7 minus 7 is 0. Write that below 7. That means the remainder is 0. What is our result? Our result of this division is 4x plus 7. That is the result. That means 12x squared plus 25x plus 7, that trinomial divided by the binomial 3x plus 1 is 4x plus 7. That is the exact result. Okay? We're going to practice with another one. 4y cubed plus 12y squared plus 7y minus 8 all over 2y plus 3. Alright? We practice it the normal way. First, write the numerator, the dividend, in a line like this. Put a horizontal line and a vertical line. And write down the divisor 2y plus 3. Okay, now the first term is 4y cubed. Divide that by 2y. What is 4y cubed divided by 2y? It is 2y squared. And write it where? Write it above the 12y squared. There you are. What do we do with this 2y squared? Multiply each of the terms of the divisor. 2y squared multiplied by 2y. Tell me, what is 2y squared multiplied by 2y? Is 4y cubed. Write it below the 4y cubed. There we are. And now 2y squared multiplied by positive 3 is positive 6y squared. And write it below the 12y squared. Now, subtract terms below from terms above. Alright, let's do that. 4y cubed minus 4y cubed. Subtract terms below from terms above. 4y cubed minus 4y cubed is 0. Write it here. And then 12y squared minus 6y squared is 6y squared, and write it here. Next step, bring down the positive 7. Alright, bring down the positive 7. And now, 6y squared is the first term of the dividend. And 2y is the first term of the divisor. What do? 6y squared divided by 2y. What is 6y squared divided by 2y? It's 3y. Where do I write it? Write it to the right here. Plus 3y. And multiply this 3y with each of the terms here. What is 3y multiplied by 2y? 3y times 2y is positive 6y squared. And write it below the 6y squared. There we are. What's the next step? 3y multiplied by positive 3. What is 3y multiplied by positive 3? Is 9y. Where do I write it? Write it below 7y. What is the next step? Subtract the terms below from the terms above. Alright, 6y squared minus 6y squared. Remember, always the first terms will subtract to give you 0. 6y squared minus 6y squared is 0. Alright, the next one. I want you to tell me 7y minus 9y. What is 7y minus 9y? It is negative 2y. And write it below the terms in y. What next? Bring down the negative 8. Bring down the negative 8. There you are. And now, negative 2y divided by 2y is, dividing negative 2y by 2y, what do you get? It's a negative 1, is that right? Negative 2y divided by positive 2y is a negative 1, and we write it to the right of 3y. And now multiply. Negative 1 times 2y is negative 2y, and we write it below that negative 2y. Now, negative 1 times positive 3 is negative 3, and we write it below that negative 8. Okay, we will now subtract terms below from terms above. You need to take care when you subtract terms below from terms above. For example, subtract terms below from terms above. What is negative 2y minus negative 2y? What do you get if you subtract this negative 2y from this negative 2y? Well, negative 2y minus negative 2y is 0. Is that right? You subtract the same quantity from a number, you get 0. Negative 2y minus negative 2y equal to 0. And write that below negative 2y. Then, I want you to do this on your own. Subtract negative 3 from negative 8. What is negative 3 subtracted from negative 8? That is negative 3 minus, negative 8 minus negative 3. And remember, double negative becomes positive. Negative 8 minus negative 3 is negative 8 plus 3. What is negative 8 plus 3? That is negative 5. And write that below the negative 3. Now what that tells me is that I have no more terms left. So this is my remainder. How do I write the result? The remainder is negative 5 divided by 2y plus 3. So the result is 2y squared plus 3y minus 1. That is this. Then the remainder is minus. See, the minus is because it is negative. Minus 5 over 2y plus 3. And that is the way we write the result. I'm going to take you through one more time on these steps. Alright, pay attention and do it on your own. Only when you do it on your own, you know where you stumble and where you need help. Alright, what is the starting point? Write the dividend like this, with a horizontal line on top, a vertical line to the right, to the left. Now, write the divisor to the left of it. The first term of the dividend is divided by the first term of the divisor. Alright, 4y cubed divided by 2y. Try and do this in your mind now. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Y cubed divided by y is y squared. So 4y cubed divided by 2y is 2y squared. Write it above the horizontal line in line with the y squared term. Okay, what do you do with that 2y squared? Multiply this 2y squared with each of the terms of the divisor. 2y squared multiplied by 2y is 4y cubed. Write that below 4y cubed. Now what is the clue I gave you? Always the term coming below the first term will be the same term. You see 4y cubed below the 4y cubed. Alright, now multiply 2y squared with that positive 3. 2y squared multiplied by positive 3 is 6y squared, and write that below the 12y squared. What is the next step? Subtract terms below from terms above. 4y cubed minus 4y cubed is 0. Subtract. 12y squared subtract 6y squared. 12y squared minus 6y squared is positive 6y squared. Now bring down the 7y from the top. We have now plus 6y squared plus 7y. The first term is 6y squared. Divide that by the first term of the divisor, that is 2y. What is 6y squared divided by 2y? Do that in your mind. 6y squared divided by 2y will be positive 3y. Write that to the right above the horizontal line. Positive 3y. Multiply this positive 3y with each of these terms. First, multiply positive 3y with 2y. What do you get? It is 6y squared. Write it below 6y squared. Didn't I tell you? The term that is going to come below the first term will be the same term. So 3y multiplied by 2y is 6y squared. Write it below 6y squared. Then 3y multiplied by positive 3 is 9y. Write it below the 7y. What is the next term? Subtract terms below, the green terms, from terms above. 6y squared minus 6y squared is 0. 7y minus 9y. Subtract 9y from 7y. 7y minus 9y is negative 2y. And now bring down the negative 8 from above. And now we repeat the same thing. Negative 2y is divided by 2y. What is negative 2y divided by positive 2y? Is a negative 1. Alright? Multiply the negative 1 with 2y. You get negative 2y. Write it below negative 2y. And the negative 1 multiplied by positive 3 is negative 3. Write it below the negative 8. Now again, subtract terms below from terms above. Negative 2y minus negative 2y. What is negative 2y minus negative 2y? It's 0. Now subtract negative 3 from negative 8. That is negative 8 minus negative 3, which is negative 8, plus 3, which is negative 5. So our result is 2y squared plus 3y minus 1. Then the remainder is minus 5 over 2y plus 3. Now, it is a very important skill. Those who want to go into higher mathematics will actually see this almost everywhere you go. So, dividing a polynomial by a binomial using the long division is a very important skill. Practice that several times. Alright? Now, That means we have now come to the end of Unit 3. And it is time for you to practice, go on with the practice test and take the test 3 and make sure that everything so far, Units 1, 2, 3 are thorough. Remember, you need to take a final comprehensive exam and a state exit exam. All these skills will be tested there. So you must continuously be practicing this. And that is the reason why the quizzes and tests, once the deadlines are over, I reopen them and I give you one more chance. Now remember, the second chance is not for grading you. It is for giving you another opportunity to go through those tests and quizzes to give you more practice, to make sure that you stay in touch with the topics that you have done before. Alright? I wish you all the best for the test, and I will see you for Unit 4 later on.